So Mario is asking me whether or not he should call his furnace guy. His furnace turns off prematurely, right before it reaches that room temperature. And what he does is he turns off that furnace, puts it back on, it works fine for about a week. And the problem repeats over and over almost every week. And this has been happening since he's gotten the house. This is his first winter. Should he call his furnace guy? Yes, Mario, you should call your furnace guy.
No sales gimmicks, no confusion, just expert advice to help you stay comfortable and save money. And now, the Information for Customer Success show.
So I'm glad to hear that I have a Mario in Garfield, New Jersey. Glad you're enjoying the show here. And Mario, you might be afraid to call your furnace guy because you think he's going to charge you money, and he should if he's going to fix the issue. Let me tell you what's most likely happening, and this is a very common thing. I hear about this all the time. We actually see this all the time. It's usually the same exact thing, especially on older furnaces or furnaces that have not been maintained in a very long time. Now, if your heat keeps turning on and shutting off and starting again, your system's telling you something. So let's explain how a furnace works, and I'm going to do a quick little overview. I'm sure these are the sounds you guys always hear when a furnace turns on. Maybe you don't hear it because it's in a far, far away mechanical space, but most people in most average homes actually hear that furnace turn on. It actually does something which makes a noise way before you actually feel the hot air coming out of your grills. So let's go over that. And here it is. This is the inducer fan motor. This is what you guys hear. Sitting on your couch in the living room, you hear that thing go on, but the furnace isn't fully on yet. So the inducer fan goes on, it waits for the gas, and then it fires up at some point, and you're going to have actual fire and heat. Now, once we see that fire, here it is. At some point, a little bit later, the actual blower, the fan comes on, and you're getting heat delivered into your space. So if you're hearing that inducer fan motor go on a lot, and the unit didn't make your room temperature yet because it's turning off and then starting that inducer fan motor again, that potentially means you have a problem. If a unit runs, that inducer fan motor sound kind of disappears, you don't hear it. But if you're hearing the unit go off, the inducer fan motor go on again, and you're hearing that a bunch of times, there may be a problem. This right here is your typical gas furnace, and they will vary based on efficiencies and how complicated they are, but they all have a lot of things in common, which is the safety devices. Now, the safety devices, you'll find them all over here. This little disc switch, this switch right here, there's one right there on the heat exchanger. There's plenty more, things like the air proofing switches and things like that, but we're here to talk about one specific safety switch, which is that one all the way in the back. That is your high limit. That's the one that senses the temperature inside that chamber where heat is created. And that's the one that most commonly goes off. So when this goes off, that means obviously there's a problem, but the other thing I want to discuss is the fact that if it goes off frequently, if it's gone off now several dozen times, they will fail over time, because unlike some of the other components, which are operational components, these are called safety components. So they're there to go off once in case there's trouble. And when I say once, I mean once in a while. But if they continuously go on and off and on and off and on and off, they will actually break the actual device, because they're not meant to be operational devices. They're only meant to be safety devices. And if safety devices go on and off, on and off, on and off way too many times, they could potentially actually fail. Now, hopefully they fail in the off position, meaning they'll prevent a condition where it's not safe. But I've seen them fail the other way too. So it's very important to just pay attention to how your furnace is behaving. So let's recap this a little bit. When your system does something weird and it turns off before it actually makes the room temperature, we call that short cycling. So your system may be short cycling. And most likely, from at least what Mario has described in that email, what's happening is it's that primary limit. A high limit, primary limit on the heat exchanger is going off. And it's going off because the heat exchanger is actually getting too hot. That's a temperature limit. Why is it getting too hot? Plenty of reasons why it could be getting too hot. Let's start with reason number one. Clogged filter. You may have a clogged filter. Simple as that. Not enough air moving through that heat exchanger gets too hot. Reason number 2, there may be an issue with your blower motor. Maybe not moving enough air, maybe it's on its way out, there's some kind of issue with the motor. Number 3, look at your grills. Did you close down some of these grills? People do this all the time. This is one of the most annoying homeowner things that I see almost every day. A room is too hot, somebody goes up to a grill and this is why when we provide grills, we actually don't like to provide the dampers on the grills, because people will close them off or even tape them off. And now you restricted so much air moving through a duct system, the heat exchanger got hot. Another reason could be perhaps the coil is clogged, and that's restricting airflow as well. So there's a lot of reasons for that thing to go off, the high limit, the primary limit of the furnace. Now, another reason this may happen, but not on older systems, primarily on brand new systems. Somebody gets a brand new system, filter is clean, everything is good, but that keeps happening. I see this a lot. The problem is usually an oversized furnace. Now, what's the problem with the oversized furnace? Well, you got a lot of heat generated and created, and it's oversized for the place, it's oversized for the ductwork perhaps, and it overheats. So that's a very common one as well. So when that primary limit, that high limit goes off, it's doing its job. So that's a good thing. Safety controls are doing their job. And HVAC problems are usually system problems, not usually just equipment problems. It may not, again, be a failing part of the furnace. It's a sign of something wrong with the entire system. And to me, the entire system is actually the whole house, right? Your thermostat placement, your grills, your ductwork, your air moving through the house is the whole system. So there may be an issue with the whole entire system, but you cannot ignore it. Don't keep adjusting the thermostat. Don't ignore the frequent cycling. Don't assume the unit is too old. Don't let anyone diagnose it over the phone or over a YouTube show. Yeah, I may be completely wrong about Mario's exact problem. Of course, I'm taking an educated guess. Now I want to talk about perhaps what Mario is doing. Mario just keeps turning it on and off. System works fine for a week. He repeats the cycle. He's been doing it all winter, which means it's probably happening a dozen times at least, if not more. What's the problem with that? Well, those safety switches, again, as I talked about in my video, are made to be safety switches to go off every now and then. They're not operational switches. If the high limit switch is tripping, the furnace is overheating, there's a problem, right? And that switch is meant to go off a couple of times. At some point, that safety switch will break. That high limit switch is a temperature sensitive safety device. It's made of bimetallic disc or strips, two different metals bonded together, then encased in this metal housing, and it's mounted in the hot airstream near that heat exchanger. As the temperature rises, those metals expand at different rates, very specific temperatures, and they warp and snap, and they do that all the time. So they cool down and they heat back up, and that motion of those metals will eventually just break them or not make them operational at the same temperature. They may lose their safety factor. So those switches going on and off are not a good thing. We should not allow that to happen many times. So when you see a sign of it going off, you got to call a professional. Call a professional, get ahead of it before it becomes a big problem. So once you do have your HVAC guy come in and he figures out what's wrong, and if you tell him the exact history, tell him that this has been happening for a while, honestly, they should be recommending to replace that limit switch as well, even if it's operational right now. Trust me, they get weak. And next time it may not trip the way it's supposed to trip. So please ask your guy, they're very inexpensive. Please ask your HVAC guy, HVAC company you use, to actually replace the limit switch as well. And if you found this very informative, please subscribe, share it, like it. Send me questions at icshvc.com. I will respond to it. Thanks to Mario from Garfield, New Jersey for this show.